to Alex Ingram, co-founder of myagingparent.com. It's a site for carers and those who look after the elderly, and she joins me now from our central London studios. Very good evening to you. Families secretly filming in care homes, it sounds a bit extreme. Is it really the answer?
It shouldn't be the answer. It's a real sort of end-of-the-line action that can be taken. But I think there's so much more that can be done before it gets to that. I think CCTV or any kind of cameras in a care home may have some kind of role, but I think it needs to be thought about very carefully. If there are cameras in a care home, what about the residents? Not all the residents are, having incapabilities to make mental decisions and to make their own decisions as to whether they want a camera in a care home. The carers themselves may feel that's really important for them to know what their relatives are doing all the time and to make sure it's secure. But I think there's a double-edged sword in terms of cameras. I really do. I think it can take away from the fact that the care home needs to provide training for their carers, that they need to be managing them all the time, that there need to be processes in place. And as I think a report said a little bit earlier, I think obviously cameras are cheaper than people, and I think there's a real danger that cameras can take the place of carers and human interaction, and so I think any kind of cameras should be considered very carefully.
And I assume also they are potentially a massive deterrent to those people who do end up working and looking after the elderly in care homes, often on very, very poor wages, barely above the minimum wage, and in quite harrowing conditions sometimes. And after all, as I think we all know, there's only a few bad eggs amongst a great swathe of very good carers.
I think that's absolutely it. I think, it's a very difficult job being a carer, and I think carers, obviously, the money going into care is just not enough. These carers ought to be paid for what they're doing to a reasonable amount so that they can get on with their lives and they can really give the care that they want to give, rather than worrying about, trying to make ends meet and obviously trying to get cheaper and cheaper carers into care homes. Part of that is a funding issue. I think a lot of that is behind is a funding given by the government into care homes themselves.
Have families got reason to be concerned, or are there ways in which their confidence can be built up without going to what appears to be the extreme measure of putting secret cameras in?
I think it starts at the very beginning. I think you have to plan ahead, looking after a relative's care, and I think you need to be checking the care homes out. There's lots of advice on our site about what to look for in care homes, and I think you need to be keeping an eye on what's going on, and also listening to the resident of the home themselves. I think the hidden cameras are really to gather evidence. They're really at the extreme end. I think that is when all else fails, where communication fails, where you realise that something is wrong. There also may be, for whistleblowers, people who are working in the home that want to say something, they can give evidence. So I think the hidden camera is really an extreme end. CCTV generally in a care home, that's also what has been talked about. That may have a role, but really from the residents' point of view, do they want cameras in their rooms? They should have that choice.
Probably not. Alex Ingram, thank you very much. We must leave it there. Alex Ingram, co-founder of My Aging